a lot of what we're talking about there on this resource end comes into the pleasurable or the pleasure principle for your lives. Where do you find those pleasures in? And so for me, this whole idea of nesting and loving my home, I use this for sleep regarding pillows and sheets and kind of how I sleep and where I go to sleep and how I nap. And I could talk about sleep for days, about how the importance of it is, not just for ADHD, but for everyone. I would consider myself a professional sleeper now.
You're a professional sleeper?
That's what I would call it.
Phil for you.
Okay, so let's get into another resource. Let's talk about sleeping for a little bit. Do you do naps?
Oh my God, do I do naps? It's ludicrous if you don't do naps. So here's a fun fact.
You're pro nap.
Oh, dude.
Okay, fact me.
Okay, here's the fact.
Look out, you guys.
We are the only mammal on the planet that does not take naps consistently.
We are?
Yes, we are. Watch every animal. Watch your dog. Nap like your dog.
My dog's probably napping right now.
Yes, they are. Okay, why are they napping? Because it's resourcing. Okay, so this whole sleep thing started for me 15, 20 years ago. There's a beautiful book out there called Take a Nap, Change Your Life. It's the sleep physiology in the body and the brain on how sleeping works and how napping works. So this is a psychologist, or she may be a PhD or a MD, and I can't think of her name immediately. We can get it in the show notes, but it's one of my favorite books. And so essentially we have 2 circadian rhythms in our body. One starts from 12 a.m. at night to 12 p.m. and then one 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Okay?
Okay.
And so the reality is the tiredness you feel in the early afternoon has nothing to do with what you ate for lunch. It has to do with your second circadian rhythm turning on, and your body needs to rest for a short period of time, i.e. the siesta.
7 hours after waking. Siesta is siete.
Yes.
I read about this in Dan Pink's book, I think, called When.
Okay.
And he talks about the Nappuccino.
Yes.
Have you heard of the Nappuccino?
No, I love it. The Nappuccino. That's a what a great term.
There's another resource, y'all. I don't caffeine.
Okay, I don't either anymore.
But if you caffeine, he says, you sleep for 20 minutes.
Right.
He says, do not sleep.
Right.
You don't want your REM. Because if you go too deep into sleep, it's harder to bounce back into a wakeful state.
Correct. That's accurate.
So he says sleep for 20 minutes. And he says if you're a coffee drinker, which I'm not, which James is not, but if you guys are, there's a lot of coffee drinkers out there. You drink coffee before you go to sleep because that caffeine takes about 20 minutes to take effect.
Wow.
So you'll sleep for 20 minutes and it will help springboard you back from that sleep state to a wakeful state.
Okay, so that's one way to dial it in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Other ways to look at on the second circadian rhythm starting is to look at that your sleep cycling on the second circadian rhythm is 45 minutes. You'll go through a full sleep cycle. At night when you're sleeping, you go through full cycles in 90 minutes. So if you want to play something, a little game at night when you're sleeping, upon waking, I don't use alarm clocks anymore unless I'm going to the airport.
Yeah.
Okay? I have a clock in my head, and 98% of the time I can wake up within 1 to 2 minutes of when I set my clock, I'm going to wake up.
I haven't used an alarm clock in a long time. This morning I went on that bike ride. It's a 7 a.m. bike ride. And I didn't even know if I was going to go because I thought our interview's at 10.
Right.
If we get a couple flats on this group ride, I'm late.
Right.
And then but my body woke me up.
Yep.
At 6:25 and
it's
said,
time to go ride.
It's time to go ride.
And so your body starts to help you help itself.
It knows when you're doing stuff.
Absolutely.
How does that work?
Well, how does your heart rate work?
Yeah.
How does your blood pressure work? I mean, these are the miracles of the body, meaning that there's a physiology working in our body that's so behind the scenes that if you trust it, understand it, guide it, engage with it, it takes care of itself.
So you were talking about the 90-minute nighttime
sleep cycle. And one of the things in this book, Take a Nap, Change Your Life, is the idea that you wake up on one of those junctures. So you're waking up at 6 hours. So they're 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9 hours of sleep. And if you're waking up at those junctures, say 6 hours or 7.5 hours, your body pops out of sleep easier because you're likely in a dream state or you're in one of those transition states. So it's easier to wake up. You don't feel so. If you wake up from sleep or even a nap and you've got a lot of cobwebs and it's hard to kind of get oriented, you woke up in a deep sleep.
Out of cycle.
Yes.
So when I think of this cycle, I'm thinking, so sleep has a depth.
Yes.
You can be sleeping lightly, which means you might know what's going on in the room. You might you're at a shallow level
Correct.
of sleep. And then there's also a deep sleep,
Yes.
which is that REM.
Yes, you'll have some REM in there, but you'll have a lot of physical repair on the body. You'll have a very deep connection to yourself.
Is this yoga nidra? Does yoga nidra tap into that deep sleep?
No, I think it would drop into, I don't know a lot of the specific areas of sleep. I know what works for me, and I've read, like I said, this book really worked well for me, and there's a lot of information out there now about sleep. What's the shortest period a person can take a nap and get benefit?
What is that?
2 to 3 minutes.
You can get benefit in 2 to 3 minutes?
Think about this. Have you ever dozed off in a movie or in a conference or while you were doing something and you just need a little rest? Mm-hmm. You watch people, they'll sleep for about 2 or 3 minutes and they'll pop back awake and they'll have a re-energized sense of self. Okay? So you could see me on the side of the road in a parking lot nowadays in the middle of the afternoon because I'm driving somewhere and I don't use caffeine and I don't use refined sugars anymore. So I'll nap for 5 minutes. I'll nap for 6 minutes. Pop open, go right back to where I was. So it's learning how to resource your body. Sleep, napping. I absolutely am a professional napper. So in the afternoon, the book, Take a Nap, Change Your Life, would say it's a 45-minute sleep cycle.
Okay.
So you could sleep for as much as 45 minutes and wake up. I can half that, say about 23 minutes, 20 minutes. I think I've customized, I don't know if customized, but I've really oriented to what my body works for my body. And I nap within the time that I have. So if I've got 13 minutes, if I've got 14 minutes, if I've got 17 minutes.
You'll nap that distance, that
Absolutely.
duration.
I'll say, okay, it's 2:35 right now. I have a client at 3 o'clock. I can nap for 15 minutes. I am going to wake up at 2:35 plus, 15 minutes is 2:50. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'll set my mind. I'll wake up at 2:50 and I'll look at the clock. It's 2:50. It's 2:51. I'm like, phew. So I take 1 to 2 naps a day. I think it's the healthiest thing in the world. And I think it allows your body to reset naturally and it keeps it off of the stress cycle.
Second resource, we're talking about napping.
Yep.
Talking about sleeping. First is get a good night's sleep.
Yep.
Go to bed. We didn't talk about this, but is there a ritual or routine about sleep? Because I've heard of sleep hygiene. People talk about sleep hygiene.
Correct. And that's been the term now. So sleep hygiene, I say you want to mimic your sleep hygiene to your wake-up hygiene. If you wake up and you take a shower and you brush your teeth and you do all these things and it takes you 30 minutes, you want your sleep hygiene to be about 30 minutes.
Okay.
So I take a very brief shower every night before bed because it washes off my day. Mm-hmm. It might be 30 seconds. It might be a minute. It's not a long-term cleaning shower.
It's like a ritual.
Yes, but it's a reset ritual, so it's a start. And then I will always brush and floss my teeth. I wear contacts, so I have to take care of my contacts. I will clean my face. I always put, I'm 62, and I think my skin looks incredibly good for 62.
You put some moisturizer on that stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah, every night.
Moisturize.
Because skin, okay, these are fun facts today. Skin is the largest organ in the body that's alive.
That's right.
And if you don't take care of your skin, you'll know it. And your face is the one that is most exposed most of the time to the elements.
They call it your money maker.
Yes.
Wait, no, shake your money maker, I think, is your bottom. But anyway, forget that. I'm digressing.
But the reality is, particularly for men out there, this is a challenge for them. If they've never had a facial, go get a facial. It'll change your
I've never
world.
had a facial.
Oh, Phil. All right, we're gonna have to get Phil a facial, folks.
Phil needs a facial.
If someone's out here who's
Phil
an
fails at facials.
okay, you need to get an anesthetician.
An anesthetician.
And you need to interview an anesthetician here, okay? Because
God.
they will teach you about your skin health.
Okay, so ritual.
We digress.
Ritual behavior you mirror your nighttime ritual with your wake up ritual.
Meaning the bouts of time. You're going to do different things in those rituals.
But they're about 30 minutes each.
Correct. Mine are about 30 minutes. And so, but the reality is for us as humans, if you're out in the sunlight in a reasonable amount, okay, you're going to be creating serotonin throughout the day, which is a nice mood regulator. Serotonin turns to melatonin as the sun goes down at night. Melatonin is a natural sleep agent. So everyone's going to have a natural tiredness somewhere between, I believe, in the 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. time range. Mm-hmm. You're going to naturally feel tired. Your body wants to go to bed.
Right.
Okay. That's the best time to go to bed. If I throw that off by an hour and a half or so, you can throw that into an adrenal cortisol cycle where the body's going to take another 2 to 3 hours to deal with that. And it's a horrible deal for adults with ADD because adults with ADD get into the sleep trap is what I call it. And the sleep trap is, okay, I may be a little tired, but I run past it, or I get on video games, or I do something, and I pop myself into this hypercycle where I don't feel like I need to go to sleep, and then suddenly I'm awake till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and you destroy your night's sleep, and you destroy your next day because you didn't get the rest you needed.
And it's almost like you missed that train.
Yes.
Like your body's going to tell you, this gets into body awareness.
Yes, it does.
Your body's going to say, hey, I think it's about bedtime for us. And if you miss that train, it can throw off your whole night.
Yes.
So when your energy starts to dip, when you start to maybe start yawning, I don't know.
Yawning, dipping, any of those things are parts of it. I just start slowing down for the day.
Yeah.
But one of the other ADD sleep traps is that the world for people with ADHD gets quiet around them at night from a distractions point of view. People aren't calling me. I'm not required to do stuff. So suddenly my mind can quiet down from all the chaos potentially around it. And so I feel good about that. And I want to have that time. I want to relish in it. I want to do something finally for me. Mm-hmm. So where do I find that time?
Early in the morning?
Yes.
Yeah, you're waking up at 4 still, right?
4:30, 5:30, but I was up this morning. I woke up with some positive stress at 3 a.m. around my conference coming up and some thoughts I was having in this podcast today, and I couldn't go back to sleep in about 10 or 15 minutes, which I think if you don't go to sleep for 10 or 15 minutes and you're awake at night, get up. Do a meditative, some kind of ritual to pull you back into that sleep cycling. Don't turn the TV on.
So if you wake up and it seems like going back to bed isn't readily available, you're suggesting get all the way up and do something. That's
meditative and ritualistic in a calming, centering realm. So what did I do this morning at 3 a.m.? Actually, it was from, it's about 3 to 4 a.m.
You pressure washed the front of the house.
That would be a good idea. I would have pissed my neighbors off. But it probably would have crossed my mind at some point. No, I meditated. I opened my back doors. I opened the screen doors. I could hear my fountain. I could hear the cicadas of when the Texas heat, those kind of things.
Oh, man.
And how long do I meditate? I don't put a timer on it. I meditate until I'm done, until I feel myself starting to rest back into sleep and my thoughts have drained themselves. I just let my thoughts drain. It's like just let them sift, keep going, don't grab them. Sometimes when I'm doing that, I will come across insights. I'll come across ideas or answers to things. So I may write something down briefly. Remember this is a good idea.
Noting.
But I don't attach to it.
Did you learn some of this from David Cuthrell?
Yes. Some of that, or he and I teaching each other about those things. He and I have known each other for 20 years. And
Dave's been on the show. You guys
Dave's
go watch
great.
Dave Cuthrell's show on mindfulness meditation.
Oh my God. And mindfulness meditation for the ADHD.
And that's what we're talking about here. Mindfulness meditation.
Yes, we are.
You're sitting down, eyes closed, most likely, or softened gaze.
Yes.
You're noticing thoughts popping into your mind.
Yep.
You might even go down the rabbit hole on one, but once you notice, hey, I'm in a thought,
Then you let it go.
you let it go.
And like last night, I heard 2 sirens go off, and I heard and I heard them stop. And what do I do with sirens at night? I don't think bad thoughts. I think nurturing thoughts. I think someone who needs help is getting help right now. And that's a wonderful thing. So if you ever want a way to reorder what you think about sirens and the police and everything, someone's getting help.
Reframing.
Yeah, absolutely. But do that right in the moment and it just dissipates.
So we're talking about sleep as a resource. We talked about during the day sleep, about somewhere
Napping.
around 20. It could be as little as 2 minutes.
Yep.
You can get value from 2-minute nap. It can be as much as like 45 minutes, it sounds like, to do
Yes.
one of those day cycles.
Right. But I also think that it's good for you to kind of feel your body out on any given day. I might take a 17-minute nap or a 23-minute nap. But to me, here's the ADD piece. When I'm doing that, it's interesting to me. It's a little bit like, oh, will it be a 23-minute nap today or a 17-minute nap today? Or what do I have time? So it keeps me intrigued by it. That's a thriving aspect of ADD, is to be intrigued and interested in my life in such a personalized, customized way, in this case, in regards to napping and sleep.
Yeah, that nap's kind of exciting right now.
I'm telling you, because it turns you on. If you can get that intrigue turned on in a personal way, you know us. Our hyperdrive is just like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is an adventure.
I want to go for a nap.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to try this. Now, remember, if you haven't napped for a very long time or you feel like you can't nap or it's hard to calm down, it's okay to just close your eyes and rest. Because even resting for 5, 10, 15 minutes and letting thoughts just go by and you don't really feel like you go to sleep, you will beginning to train your body, okay, into that nap cycling space to go to sleep. A lot of people who will meditate or will take a nap, or particularly with meditation, they'll go, well, I meditate and I fall asleep. And they're like, what's that mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, your body needed to sleep.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay? Your
I
body.
think we live in a culture where napping hasn't been as championed.
No, it hasn't been understood. And
Latin America, they got the siesta thing.
because they understand a day is divided into two parts. You have the first part of the day and you have the second part of the day.
Like when I was in Spain or whenever you go, you try to get lunch somewhere. Everything closes down.
Right.
Because they go back
Right.
to be with their family,
Yes.
to take naps, or just to do
Yes.
life stuff.
Yes.
Whatever they want to do.
And then they come back and they have their second
back.
day. They
And
have the
they're
second
up
half of the
later.
day. Right. Right, but they can be naturally up later because of how they cycle their days.
Yeah.
So, but if we complete the thoughts on the sleep hygiene at night, it's really, really important to let your body have that ritual to help pull you into sleep. Okay. So I'm going to give you one of my favorite little tools, okay, and strategies for going to sleep at night if you have ADD. Okay, because we think about everything but sleeping. So one of the things we don't really focus on regarding sleep and ADD is that when you start to go to sleep, your mind's going to think about other things. I'm going to get distracted.
Rumination.
Yes.
That's what we call it.
Okay. But it's the mind's active. Well, it was active during the day. So it's natural. So how do I calm that active mind in a way that's meaningful? Of course, I've got 10 or 15 or 20 strategies that I use on any given basis. One of my favorite ones is in Focus Forward. I talk a lot about the mind palace, or the emotional safe place, a place in your mind's eye. So if you can imagine things in your mind's eye, create a sleep environment in your mind's eye. The best thing you could ever imagine. I'm sleeping in the woods. I'm in a hammock. I'm in a beautiful little cabin on the beach.
We're talking visualization.
Absolutely. And using your imagination, that's a whole nother podcast. The imagination is a powerful tool.
Absolutely.
So create.
And it's an aspect of reframing too.
Absolutely.
It's visualization, it's reframing,
But it's exercising the resource called imagination. It's how we just, we throw imagination out to the wind of it's brainstorming and daydreaming and all this. I'm like, no, it's a powerful mental health tool.
Yeah, and you're suggesting or advocating for us using it
Yes.
to create a safe space around our sleep.
Correct. And in this case, you create a sleep environment in your mind's eye. So in your imagination, you go to sleep in your mind's eye imagination, and you go to sleep in your physical bed. So it's a tether that pulls you down into sleep because it gives it something to focus on.
Focusing forward.
Yes, and it's beautiful. I've used it in many, many ways. I'm 98, 99% of my sleep now, I'm asleep within 2 to 3 minutes. I know exactly the covers I want. I know the pillows I want. I sleep with a stuffed dog.
What's his name?
Xavier, of
Yeah,
course.
stuffed dog.
You know,
Xavier's
brown and
in the
white,
bed.
spotted stuffed dog that's got these weighted feet on it. You know, these beanbag kind of dog feet that
Yeah.
just you can hug
Are
onto.
you guys visualizing
Yeah, come
this?
on,
James
everyone is
with
just,
Xavier.
I know, but I'm just like, listen, stuffed animals are not just for children anymore.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
So that whole idea of nurturing myself, of connection to myself. So I'm a real geek when it comes to pillows. I use a U-shaped pillow. That's because I'm a side sleeper. It supports my back. It lets my neck get where it needs to be. It supports my head. I've discovered this about a year ago. Oh my God, I'm like in heaven with my pillow right now.
Okay. That's
So-
sleep, our second resource.
dude,
We've talked
sleep.
a lot about sleep.
We have.
I want to go to the next resource,
Go.
or just another resource. When we were working together, and we talked about this a little bit ahead of time, because I wanted you to kind of take us through and discuss tapping. But you said, in the you said, man, this might be a spicy one to talk about with folks, because tapping can...
It can be a trauma desensitization technique, meaning that you're dealing with something that could be very emotionally disruptive for you.
Mm-hmm.